episode of Sharing the Light. So we've talked about the four simple points to good project management: planning, brief, executing, and debrief. Today what I thought I'd talk through would be to dive deep into the first one of those elements, and that is around planning. So for any good planning process, really what you need to start with is understanding where you're actually going to end up. What is the outcome that you're trying to achieve? And with that, making sure that that outcome is actually exceedingly clear and measurable, and of course, preferably obtainable. So hopefully, if you've got a very clear understanding of objective, you can then actually start brainstorming either by yourself or with your team in relation to what are the threats that are going to impact you achieving that objective. Now, these threats may be internal threats that can actually stop you achieving that objective, constraints in the workplace, constraints with technology within your office, or it could even be external threats, be it weather, conditions, even other organisations and entities. The key thing here is to try to list down, a short little list of what you can see as key threats in achieving that objective, really with the view of then trying to identify ways that you can actually mitigate those threats. So now you've got a clear understanding of the objective you're trying to achieve and some of the threats that are going to be in the way of you achieving that objective. Next is to sit down and think about what are the resources that you're going to need to go through that process. Those resources could, of course, be people, places, things, software, technology, and even physical things such as plants and equipment, really just depending on what you're trying to do and achieve. Now, importantly, not only identifying the resources that you actually need, it's also about identifying their availability within your current workforce, so you've got them there at hand for you to use, or whether you need to go and obtain them from other places external to your business, or even bring in other resources associated with the greater market to complement what you don't currently have within your business. Last step in getting a really good plan together is understanding the action of how you're going to deliver that plan. And really, the action portion of this covers off who needs to do what, by when, how you're going to actually measure progress of you achieving that, what sort of contingencies that you need to be in place to deal with threats as they present themselves along the way, or even constraints within your resources that happen. And then, of course, really having somebody to actually try to pull apart this plan and identify areas that you may have not thought of yourself. What does good planning involve? Well, as I said, planning involves understanding your objective, making sure it's clear and measurable, understanding the threats that are going to stop you achieving that objective, understanding the resources that you need to get there and that are going to help you get there, and then understanding the who, what, where, when you need to achieve that plan to actually detail out the totality of your plan. But also with that, understand how you're actually going to measure the success of achieving that plan as you actually move along the steps of deploying it. Now, of course, there's also an important part to this planning process, and that's actually to make sure that it's clear and simple, because that's what you need it to be when you move into the next step, which we'll talk about in the next episode, and that's briefing. So look, thank you very much for listening today. Please subscribe.